Well, hello everybody. I'm finally back in this room, finally back in Toronto Public Library, AV room, also known as the audiovisual room, graciously provided by the taxpayers of the city of Toronto, because ultimately every library and every community center is funded by property taxes collected by the city of Toronto. And it's great to be back. I think this upcoming fall, 2025, and probably the winter of 2026, I'm going to be doing more videos. I got to control my costs and all of that. But actually, this is just to give you a little notice on upcoming videos that I want to do. I want to do profiles on different situations having to do with very well known people. And actually, I have one on Steve Ballmer. If you're a sports fan, you might have heard recently. Steve Ballmer, Kawhi Leonard, and a company called Aspiration. Aspiration. It was a green climate change company. They all have one thing in common, and it's actually they lost. They were all investors. Well, actually, Kawhi Leonard made some money, but they were part of something that was defrauded, and it was ultimately a scam. But Steve Ballmer, clearly one of the wealthiest people in the world, one of the most successful people in the world. He's the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest, because he's been one of the most successful people in the world with Microsoft. And, like any bad investment or marriage, it's very easy to say to the applicant, the person who's asking for the marriage, the person who's asking for the investment, the return on investment, to say that the investor should have known better. He's made all this money at Microsoft. He bought the Clippers for $1 billion or whatever. By the way, NBA teams before Steve Ballmer got involved with the Clippers were about $100 million, maybe $500 million to buy the team. And after Steve Ballmer got involved, it became billions of dollars. So, a lot of owners did well after Steve Ballmer came to the league. But when it comes to Aspiration, it was a financial company, fintech. Have you ever heard of fintech? That claimed that every time you make a debit or credit purchase using one of their cards, credit cards, debit cards, they're going to plant a tree. And with that, they claimed that by planting trees in all over the world, global company, they're going to help reduce climate change and greenhouse gases. But it turned out to be a sham. It turned out to be a scam. It turned out to be a fraudulent company. Steve Ballmer said recently that he got conned. Aspiration claimed to have $250 million on the balance sheet. Okay, balance sheet and in assets. And guess what? Federal Bureau of Investigation, the SEC, Security Exchange Commission, investigated the balance sheet, and all of the papers that they submitted to the federal government of the United States were fraudulent. It turns out they had less than $1 million in cash, and they claimed to have $250 million in assets. That's cash. That's not buildings, that's not inventory, that's not anything. That's cash. They claim to have 250 million, and that's probably why Steve Ballmer invested, I believe, 50 million. 50 million. He's the largest investor. So how does Kawhi Leonard fit into all this? Kawhi Leonard was going to be one of the sponsors and was going to say good things about what Aspiration was doing with their products. And he received $28 million. So the claim is that Steve Ballmer and the people that were running Aspiration, I don't even remember their names, they were working together in collusion. And in order to keep Kawhi Leonard maybe on the team, they were paying him $28 million, which is a lot of money. In the NBA, there's something called a salary cap, to make it fair and to make it competitive. You need to have a salary cap. No matter how good a player is, there has to be a limit on how much you can pay him every year. And the owners of a team cannot pay a NBA player and any professional athlete 1 penny above that amount. And so the claim is that Steve Ballmer, through this company, Aspiration, that he invested in and he's the largest owner in, he owned less than 10% of Aspiration, and it turned out to be a fraudulent company. They didn't make any revenue, any profits. I wonder how he got involved, but they must have had a good line of nonsense. I won't say BS. I'll say nonsense because I want to keep it a PG story. Yeah, that's the beginning and the end of it. And if you look at that list of investors, by the way, Steve Ballmer was not the only investor. There's Aubrey Graham. If you're familiar, if you're from Toronto, Aubrey Graham means Drake. No, it's an undisclosed amount how much he invested, but probably, I would imagine, in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, into Aspiration. And remember, this is 2021. Joe Biden was first elected. Climate change was a climate emergency. The largest existential threat to the world was climate change. And now, of course, 2025, it's all about drill, baby, drill. Get those gas prices down, because electric cars clearly are not as reliable and way more expensive than gas fuel cars. It takes longer to charge too. So it costs more time, consumes more money buying or leasing the car, and they don't last as long as gas-powered cars. There isn't one electric car, including Tesla, where from start to finish, it's been able to last over 10 years or even close to 10 years. Usually by 5 or 6 years, EV is, you need to replace the battery. And the most valuable part of an electric vehicle is the battery. We're talking about, to replace a battery of an EV, lithium ion, is probably $20,000 just for the battery. Not to mention all the other components. It's probably a new battery from another company, not the original battery the car came with. And EVs are a whole different story. But this was about fintech. People are going to buy these cards. People are going to sign up through the bank. There are a lot of different parties to make a credit card happen. There's an issuing bank. There's a payment processor. Visa, MasterCard. When you buy something on a Visa card or a MasterCard, you're not borrowing the money from Visa or from MasterCard. They are processing the payment and connecting you with your issuing bank, and you are borrowing the money from the bank, and they're ultimately responsible for the debt collection. But the purpose of this video is to tell you that even wealthy, smart people that have nothing but cash have made billions of dollars over the decades. And Steve Ballmer, the original tech company, was Microsoft. Maybe I could do a whole video on Microsoft, but Microsoft, they sell to enterprises. They sell to organizations, and the entire healthcare system, education system, and every single business that operates in person, brick and mortar, you won't go very far without finding a personal computer using Microsoft Windows. So he was involved with the creation of it. Bill Gates was really the engineer of Microsoft, but Steve Ballmer was always the closer and the person who got the big contracts and the big deals and got people to believe in Microsoft software. So Steve is a great guy. I love him. That's why I'm making this video. He also has a website called USA Facts, and that is nonprofit. That is purely out of generosity. He's not making any money, I'm sure. After the staffing costs, he's not making any money on USA Facts. But the idea with usafacts.com, it's not a governmental entity, and it's not, I guess he makes money somehow on USA Facts. I don't know the details, but the website is so good. It's probably my favorite website anywhere on planet Earth. USA Facts. USAFACTS.com. And the federal government of the United States, you could probably give them tens of millions of dollars and they wouldn't be able to come up with a website like USA Facts. So if you ever want to learn about what's going on in the United States, of course, the problem is they're getting the data from various levels of government within the United States, state and local, and the federal government, and it's always delayed. So most of the facts and figures that you find on USA Facts are from 2023 or 2024, whenever it gets updated. And then the question is, when do we get the data? Nobody knows. We're relying on BLS. I think that's Bureau of Labor Statistics. And of course, we have an administration that's questioning all of these statistics that are being reported, all of the ones that are negative. But back to Steve Ballmer. Let's just close with this. The purpose, with anything that you do, whenever you change your routine, there's always potential risk and potential benefit. Okay, you always put potential risk and consider potential risk before potential benefit. Whether it's financial benefit, whether it's I'm gonna go on vacation, whether it's somebody's gonna buy me some Gucci, whether it's somebody's gonna buy me a Land Rover, Range Rover, whether it's whatever it may be. But whatever the potential benefit is, always ask yourself, like somebody's making you an offer that is so good, you're making so much money. And also back to Aspiration, in terms of the Intuit Dome, they wanted to change the name from Intuit to Aspiration. And they were going to give Steve Ballmer hundreds of millions of dollars, $330 million. He did an interview. You can find it on YouTube, ESPN, $330 million. And I think that wasn't even covering the naming rights. And it turned out to be a sham company, scam. So, even the smartest people in the world can get scammed. The good thing for Steve Ballmer is that he can recover from $50 million. I'm sure he's going to be pressuring Satya Nadella and whoever's running Microsoft to increase their sales, increase their profits, which, by the way, most of Microsoft's money comes from the public sector: healthcare, education, transportation, military, and all this cloud computing stuff. Cloud computing, anytime you use something remotely, it requires the cloud, So companies don't have to buy their own servers. They can use Microsoft or Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud and all these different things, which is a whole different thing. But that's all I want to say. Potential risk, potential benefit. Slow and steady wins the race. Stay in the game. I have some notes here. I'll close with this, actually. I, Tesor Mogas, will continue to explain the value of networking events, okay? I'm not going to do as many of them. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about making networking events every month. And to be honest, I probably don't even have enough content to make networking events every month. So now I'm going to do every 2 months. I'm going to target the holidays. And maybe that's a separate video. But just remember, potential risk, potential benefit. You can always get scammed, okay? If somebody is approaching you, it is unsolicited. You've never seen this person before. Whether they're coming in with nice $1,000 suits, $10,000 suits, or whether they look, raggedy, anyone can get scammed. And it's usually men that do this defraud stuff, defraud the public, defraud investors. And but it's not like women can't do it either, okay? I'm gonna make a separate video on marriage too, so you have that to look forward to. But those are my thoughts on Steve Ballmer. He'll recover, but all I wanted to tell you is it can happen to Steve Ballmer. If Steve Ballmer can get defrauded of $50 million, anyone can get defrauded of 500 or 5,000 or 50,000. And scams happen every day, probably every hour. Okay, that's just the world we're living in, 21st century. You can't trust anyone, and that's just how it is. People have to earn your trust. In business, somebody's making a transaction with you because they expect it to be good for them. They expect it to be good for them. And in business, a lot of people don't show up. A lot of people avoid you. A lot of people tell me, why do I need to do networking events? Why don't I just focus on my day job, become a manager, do this, do that? You can do multiple things at once. You don't only have to do one thing at once and, just abandon what you were doing. It took me years to get into hospitals. And the networking events remind me of when I was 19 years old and working for free in hospitals, because everyone told me, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You should be traveling. One person told me you should be traveling the world, spending tomorrow's money on travel and tourism, which you can never get enough. There are 200 countries in the world. International travel, no matter which country you're going to Ethiopia, you're going to Italy, you're going to Morocco, you're going to Australia, you're going to China, you're going to South Korea, Japan, Philippines, whatever country you want to name, Afghanistan. No, I have nothing against Afghanistan, by the way. Believe me, Afghanistan, not everyone is a terrorist, okay? People call me a terrorist, because I have a big nose. I look like I'm from the Middle East, okay? That's what one person told me. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You know, whenever you're doing something interesting, you're going to get attention, positive attention, not so positive attention. But remember what you're in it for. You're there to make a positive difference. People will eventually, once they're persuaded that this is the real deal, then their wallets will open up. The idea is to create something that is so good that people feel the need to pay for it. People feel the need to pay for it. And that is all I want to say in this video. It started with Steve Ballmer. I was going to make a preview video, and I don't know how many minutes I'm in, but you know, I think you might have better things to do than to listen to me ramble here. But this is gonna be the fall and winter of videos. I'm hopefully gonna get into the groove. It's just me here. It's just me in this room. I don't know who watches Japanese anime, but a long time ago, Dragon Ball Z, there was something called hyperbolic time chamber, where you go in there, you either go in with a partner or you go in by yourself and you train and you meditate and you can't hear anything. It's like that because this room is soundproof. It's just me looking at a smartphone and looking at my notes. So I'm gonna end it here. I will continue to explain the value of networking events, and I really thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.